Dan Markel was a bright and talented young law professor at Florida State University in Tallahassee. He had 2 children with his wife, Wendi Adelson. But when Dan and Wendy's marriage broke up, things got very bitter, especially concerning the custody of their children. Wendi wanted to relocate 400 miles away in South Florida, where her parents, Harvey and Donna, lived and ran the family's very successful dental practice. Wendy's brother Charlie also lived there and was also a dentist. In court, Dan was winning, and the judge was not on board with Wendy's plan to move the children away from their father and away from Tallahassee. But in the end, Wendi did move to South Florida with the children. That's because Dan was shot and killed in his driveway. It was murder for hire. Wendy's brother Charlie was sleeping with a woman named Catherine McBanoa, who was also sleeping with the father of her children, Sigfredo Garcia. Charlie paid Catherine to get Sigfredo and his friend Luis Rivera to drive from South Florida to commit the murder. All 4 have been convicted. And now Wendy's mother Donna has also been charged. But what about Wendi? What did she say? How did she react when she was told Dan had been shot and killed? Tonight, we go in depth analyzing the video of Wendy's first police interview. How did she react, and what about her body language? All this as we continue our investigation into the murder of law professor and loving father, Dan Markel.
I'm Wendi Adelson. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Every time we do the story, we start it the same way, talking about Dan Markel, who was a loving father, and that's why he was murdered. That's why he was murdered. Was fighting in court to retain his right as a father to raise his children, to be there physically, emotionally, financially, in every which way. No way was he going to give it up. Went to court, went to battle. And that's why he was murdered. It's crystal clear after watching trial after trial after trial. You watch these trials, there's been 3 of them already, and that's what you take away from it. Dan Markel loved his boys, was not going to compromise, was not going to give up, and was going to fight tooth and nail to be a part of their lives. And that ended his life. Charlie Adelson was the dentist/mastermind of this murder. He's the one who put the pieces together, sleeping with a woman named Catherine McBanoa, who was sleeping with a man who was best friends with a Latin king. And Charlie cooked up the idea, or maybe came up with the idea with some help from some other family members, that the best way to solve Wendy's problem was to eliminate Wendy's problem and murder his ex-brother-in-law, Dan Markel. So he paid cash, money, gifts to McBanoa, who then transferred that stuff to Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia. And they drove from South Florida up to Tallahassee and took out Dan Markel. I mean, the law professor shot and killed in a hit, a murder for hire, super clear. Charlie's been convicted. Next up, Donna Adelson, his mother. And prosecutors here, I'm sure, will argue that she was motivating Charlie to get this done, was scheming with Charlie as the perhaps co-mastermind of this murder. What is super clear from the evidence, when you watch the trial, listen to the testimony, read the text messages, listen to the phone conversations, listen to the wiretaps. What's clear is Donna Adelson wanted to win this battle and wanted her grandchildren and her daughter down in South Florida. And she was getting beaten in court by Dan Markel, who's a brilliant lawyer. Getting beaten. So looking for another way to get it done, is I'm sure what they're going to argue. I mean, it got so personal at one point, Dan Markel was trying to prevent Donna from spending time alone with his children. afraid of her poisoning their minds. It got personal. As much as Wendi had a motive, who hasn't been charged, Donna had a motive. Now she is charged. But what about Wendi? What about Wendi? What's her role in her family? What is her relationship with her brother? What did she know? When did she know it? Did she find out when police were telling her? That's what we're going to look at tonight, because we've got the video of her first police interview. And it's a doozy. We're going to analyze it, listen to the words, put them in context, look at the body language, and try to get a read on Wendi Adelson. She's been a witness in these cases, but never has been charged. Let me introduce our guests who are going to help us go through all this tonight. Joining us tonight in Alexandria, Virginia, body language expert, author of New York Times best-selling book, You Can't Lie to Me, and creator of this new free newsletter. It's called In the Driver's Seat. Janine Driver is with us. In Redwood City, California, a man who's been an incredible advocate for his friend, Dan Markel, founder of Justice for Dan, former law professor Jason Solomon is with us. And finally, in McKinney, Texas, prosecutor, defense attorney, creator of Jury Trial Mentor on YouTube, and knows this case, the evidence inside and out. Carl Steinbeck is back with us as well. Great to see everyone tonight. Thank you for being here. I want to begin and go right. This is 2:46 p.m. Wendi Adelson's police interview from July 18th, 2014. Let's watch, let's listen, and then we'll talk about it.
I just listened to my voicemail.
What'd you hear? Who was your voicemail?
It's from Lisa Carey, who is my real estate agent, or who I had gone with to find a house. She just said she was driving around town, and she heard there was a shooting on Trescott.
Yeah, that's what this is about. I'm sorry you had to hear it that way.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I should.
It's all right, just leave it there. Is it still on?
It's right there.
And you want to just hit play again for me?
Sure.
Lisa Carey. It is Friday, and I feel like an idiot doing this, but I just heard that there was a shooting over on Trescott, and I promise I'm not trying to be dramatic or even nosy. I don't know, just checking on you, my friend. I hope all is well. I hope your sweet boys are well, and if there's anything you need, let me know. It just ran a chill down my spine when I heard that there was something going on Trescott. All right. I will talk to you soon. Bye.
That's all right, you can stop it. Or does it stop automatically?
It's done.
Okay, do you have your identification with you? All right, so you never took the last name of Markel?
No.
Adelson. Okay. Wendi with an I. Joe. Hi. There was a shooting at your home, or your ex-husband's home, at 2116 Trescott. Okay. Your ex-husband, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay?
I'm sorry, Mom. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, and then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you have nothing to be sorry about.
I just don't understand. How could this really happen?
Can you let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right.
Wow. Okay. Begin with you, Janine Driver. What are you seeing? What are you noticing about Wendi Adelson's reaction here to this news?
Hey, I'm going to challenge conventional group thought on other people, experts weighing in on this. I, in my expert opinion, feel that it's authentic. If you played the video a little longer, you would see her palms come out. And when our palms come out, that's sincerity, openness, and nothing to hide. It doesn't mean that she might not have suspected something like this might have happened. But in my opinion, here we have that palms out. This is a very interesting thing. Unless she's read a whole bunch of detecting deception novels and been trained by you, Vinny, and myself and other experts, this is not something that naturally happens when someone's being forthright and telling the truth. And we see these palms out. This is a vulnerability thing to show our wrists and to show open palms. I like to say, just like a handshake signifies an agreement, open palms represent this unspoken agreement of honesty and openness. So I don't think she was connected with this shooting.
Jason Solomon, your thoughts about listening to Wendi Adelson at the moment she is told by police that Dan will not make it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I certainly respect Janine's expertise on reading the body language and appreciate that. I think that it's really hard to say. As you know, there's a lot of evidence that could point either way. I will tell you that when I first heard about Dan's shooting, his murder, I thought that Wendi couldn't have been involved, even though I knew that the family was very much at odds with Dan, because I thought Wendi would not be that stupid. On the other hand, one would think that her family members would not be that stupid, and they were. So it's very hard to say. I think, you know, certainly we know that she knew that her brother Charlie had looked into hiring a hitman before. And so one wonders, if she knew that and she really wasn't involved, then did she not say, Charlie, my brother, my dear brother, don't you dare do anything to the father of my children. I appreciate your wanting to protect me. It doesn't seem that she said that. She's had lots of opportunities to say that she said that to her brother. She's never said that she said it. And so, you know, that's very suspicious. If she really wasn't that involved, that she wouldn't have said such a thing to her brother.
Carl Steinbeck, what are you seeing in this moment, and how do you think this moment would play inside a courtroom if she was ever charged?
Well, I think you got to look at a bigger picture of what was going on weeks and months before this, as well as what was going on that morning. Keep in mind, she drove up to the crime scene, knowing her kids spent the night there beforehand, and seeing the crime scene police tape "do not cross" and multiple squad cars and evidence vans in front of the house where her kids resided. She hightailed it out of there and didn't ask a single question. And then she goes to buy some liquor and then goes to lunch. And she went a 45-minute detour to actually go there to do the crime scene inspection. And then when she gets approached at the luncheon by Detective Isom, he brings her in her squad car 20 minutes back to the police station, and she never demands to know, why am I being brought into a police car? What's going on here? I saw the squad cars all at the house. Tell me what happened to my children. Nothing was said about why she's going down to the police station. This is the first he hears about it. But then you also see some red flags of how she reacts to this. in this first couple minutes when she's playing that phone call back from the real estate agent, she should be freaking out right there. She's not freaking out. Why is she not freaking out? Because she knew about it. So there's so many indicators that she knew what was going on. And keep in mind, this murder's been planned for over a year. Even Georgia Kappelman, the prosecutor, said she was grooming this boyfriend for 8 months right before the murder, then dumps him the week of the murder, and also wouldn't talk to Dan the week of the murder. He was trying to talk to her about the kids and this new school they're being enrolled in that she did behind his back. So there's so much subterfuge and trickery going on here. So I think also she didn't even correct him, like just little things that you pick up on. Like she didn't even correct him on the correct pronunciation of Markel. The Detective Adelson called it Markel. It's not Markel, it's Markel. So the fact that she didn't correct that, and then if you tie in other things she did afterwards, like months later, she's changing the names of the two boys from Markel to her last name, Adelson, and even the middle name. So there's just so many indicators here that she was totally involved.
One thing that you mentioned I find interesting, and this is something I'd like to learn a little bit more about, the timing and everything else. When she goes to this scene or by the scene, close to the scene, sees crime scene tape up, knows where she is, and knows her kids were there the night before. I'm wondering if at that moment you would pick up the phone to make sure the kids are okay. I don't know. Here's what I do know, though. Janine Driver, Jason Solomon, Carl Steinbeck are staying with us this hour. And when we come back, we've got more of this interview, more pieces. It's a fascinating look and a fascinating study on something that could be evidence for her or against her if she's ever charged. Also, coming up next hour.
In Moscow, Idaho, the accused Idaho student's murderer loses in court again. Meanwhile, the support grows to keep the crime scene from being demolished by the university, which is scheduled to happen 3 days after Christmas.
On campus, you still see the crime scene, I'm sure. Is that something that you feel a sense that people want to be torn down or keep it there?
They're probably gonna keep it there just to let everyone know that it did happen, but also to just, you can't really forget something that big and traumatic.
We are moving closer to trial in the case against doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Morgan. I can never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
I'm gonna have a hard time not being sad in front of the boys. I need to tell them today, don't I?
I think you do.
Have you done this before? Doesn't matter if you've done this before.
Have I told children? You know, I have not as young as your boys.
What do I tell them?
I'm not sure what Investigator Adelson kind of told you. You know that he's still alive.
No, I didn't know that.
He's.
Is he possibly gonna make it?
I don't know the answer to that. I know.
He made it sound like he was gone. So does that mean that he might be okay? You don't know?
I don't think, from what it sounds like, I don't think he'll be
the same. Okay, but he might make it.
I don't want to give you that false hope.
I'm sorry. I just thought he was gone, and now I don't know what to tell. It's sort of a game changer.
This is, I really don't understand what's happening here. It seemed like she was told he's not going to make it, and then presuming that he's dead, and now this advocate is telling her something different, a little bit of like, what's going on here in the information that she's getting. Our guests are still with us, Janine Driver, Jason Solomon, Carl Steinbeck. As we continue to watch this police interview, let's go back in now. Now it's 4:40 p.m., and here the officer is talking to Wendi about what has happened to Dan. Let's watch.
Is he still alive?
Clinically, he's not going to live.
What does that mean?
He has a severe, yes, he has a severe brain injury.
So much shot him in the head.
It's apparently there's too much damage to recover from. Okay, that's why we need to get a hold of
his family.
Parents. Right.
I don't know what his I don't know if he has an advance directive or what he would have wanted. He once told me that he would want all. We joked. I said I would want to be like. If I was ever, I have an advance directive. I do this kind of work. I run a medical legal partnership. Like, if I once said if I ever was like brain dead, I would want to be like, I'd want the plug pulled.
Right.
And he said he would want all efforts made. Like, he would be cryogenically frozen. Like, he wanted every single effort that could be made to keep him alive. I know that much.
My understanding, and that's what we'll have to get a hold of the family as soon as possible, but my understanding is there's irreparable damage. There's nothing that can be done. I mean, I'm not there, I wasn't there, but I understand from previous cases that the brain, his brain is damaged beyond repair. There's nothing that can be done for that.
Is he still alive? Should I bring the kids to see him?
No. He has severe facial injury. I'm sorry, and I know this is tough, but I would not want my children to see.
Okay, I just thought I got this inkling that maybe he was like still somewhat conscious, and I wanted him to get to be with them. If that, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, but that's the way it is. Like I said, there's severe injury, trauma.
Okay.
All right.
Is there a doctor working on him, or are they just?
There's doctors at the trauma bay, the ER. I think he's been transferred to ICU.
Okay.
All right, and they'll have to make a determination about organs.
Oh my God.
And so forth.
Oh.
Okay, Janine, this is difficult stuff to watch, but could be evidence if she's ever charged. What are your thoughts about what she is saying, how she's reacting here? Give me your assessment.
With all due respect to everybody here, I'm doubling down on I believe. Now, listen, this is suspicious behavior we talked about earlier. Doesn't mean she doesn't suspect her brother wasn't involved. My youngest sister, was married to a guy who was a batterer. And he was arrested for trying to kill her and their daughter. He gets out. She sees a car go down the street. She's at my parents' house. She thinks that this is her ex-husband in a rental car. But it takes her 20 minutes to call me, who's up the street at a friend's house, and it takes her 45 minutes to call the police. That makes no sense. Why would she wait 45 minutes? Why? Because she suspected it. We do stupid things. We're in fear. I'm not saying she doesn't think her brother was involved, her family was involved. I don't think she was directly involved. Tiffany Hartley, I don't know if you remember this, you at home and Vinny, in 2010, Tiffany Hartley, her husband David gets shot by pirates out in Mexico in the water. No one believed her in the detecting deception world. I came out, I said, she's telling the truth, and here's why. Sometimes the truth doesn't look the way we expect it to look. This emotion right here, in my expert opinion, trained the FBI, the CIA for 20 years, this is authentic sadness. She's telling them, keep him alive. And I know that might be suspicious that she's offering this evidence before it's asked, but she's saying, is there anything we can do to keep him alive? One last thing I want to say is she is asked, and we don't hear it here, would you ask someone to do this? Would you have asked someone to kill someone? And instead of saying no, she says not in a million years. That is a weak denial. I can see why people think she's probably directly linked. I think she has her suspicions. I think she knew it was her family. I do not think she is directly linked to this murder.
Jason, what did you think of this part where she is talking about not pulling the plug and trying to keep him alive?
Well, first of all, I'll say, I've never seen this part of the interview before, and as a friend of Dan's, it was hard to watch, thinking about him being in the hospital there. I will say that I think that these could be authentic emotions. I'm not an expert, as Janine is. These could be authentic emotions, whether or not she was involved in the murder, right? So I think that, they were in the middle of a bad divorce. I think she also loved him till the day he died. She probably also hated him for the past, year or however more than that before. But she also loved him. They were married. I saw them together. Like, they were a great couple in the first few years. People know how marriages can deteriorate. And so it could be true that she was involved in planning the murder. And when it actually happened, and she's told that he shot in the head, and they're talking about him being brain dead, that she is having legitimately very upset emotions that this is happening to the person who she was in love with. So, and the father of her children. So I think both things could actually be true.
Carl, I'm thinking if a jury sees this, you know, I think some jurors, and you know, in our newsroom, we've got a split. I don't know if it's an even split, but there's people feeling both ways on this. I think a jury could look at this and say she looks like she's genuinely impacted.
Well, she also had emotions tied to this because she was having a huge impact on what was going to happen weeks down the road from this, because she was facing contempt proceedings where she was accused of taking $500,000 in assets and not disclosing it on her divorce affidavit. Her husband, ex-husband, Dan Markel, had all the clout at the school. She was only hired because of him, not because of her. In an emotion he raised in March, a few months earlier, he was saying her behavior in this divorce proceeding showed that she was unfit, or at least was questionably fit to be teaching law students how to practice law when she was engaging in this type of erratic behavior, according to Dan. So she was in a pressure cooker here. So some of these tears might have been this tears of relief that she's not going to have to face this judge that had already just slammed the door shut on her trying to get the kids to be brought permanently down to Miami area. So she has a lot of emotion on the line here. And it is somewhat upsetting to know somebody's died now that you maybe had a part of it. And this guy's questioning you. And I noticed every time he was asking her questions that could be indicative of him, like maybe not believing her, then she would start to turn on the waterworks again. So you got to look at all the evidence, not just this little snapshot, to really see how this thing worked out. And keep in mind, this thing was many months in the planning. And in fact, she was down with her parents for 2 weeks before the week Dan got murdered. So this could have been rehearsed. They could have war gamed it. Easily could have been done to make it look like this and to make people think that she's sounding innocent.
Now, when we come back, Wendi actually names Charlie during this interview. We'll show you how that goes.
We are moving closer to trial in the case against doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Logan, I could ever come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
Did your brother ever mention hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel?
No.
I'm going to turn your attention to your law enforcement interview, and I'm referring to page 25, lines 13 through 15. Quote, "It was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV." Is that what he said?
That was the joke that he made, yes.
And hiring the hitman, that was to kill Dan Markel, right? That was the joke.
That was the joke that he made in poor taste, yes.
Not to kill someone else.
No. Well, he never used his name.
Okay. Well, he's hiring you the TV because it's cheaper as a divorce present than a hitman. Who else would he be hitting with the hitman?
I never really thought about it because it was not a thing that he meant. He just made a bad joke.
He joked about hiring a hitman, and then a hitman was hired to commit the murder. I mean, that's what happened. Janine Driver, Jason Solomon, Carl Steinbeck still with us. We're watching Wendi Adelson's interview on July 18th. Let's take a look here. This is at 3:08 p.m. Now they're talking about Charlie, who has been convicted of being the mastermind here.
Would you ever ask someone to do something like this?
Not in a million years.
Okay. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I made my brother, his name's Charlie, the one I'm really close to, he makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. I mean, he would never. He's my big brother, and he's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never. And I told that to the repair guy this morning.
Right. That's okay.
I said, he asked me how much it cost, and I said I didn't know because it was a gift, because my brother said it's cheaper than a hitman. It was my divorce present.
Okay.
Such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But even my family, who felt like I had been mistreated, would never do something like this. Never.
Well, you guys have been divorced for over a year. Has there been any type of abuse in that time?
Of him towards me?
Yeah.
No. It's, he's litigious, and we have an ongoing case because the house, it shouldn't be in my name anymore, but when we settled the case of our divorce, he said, one of the agreements the court said was Danny wanted to stay in the house. They said, you can have the house, but you need to pay her half of the amount of what the house is worth. And he agreed to it, and then months passed, and he just never paid me. Okay. And so we have ongoing litigation where I filed a motion in the court to have him pay me what he said he would, and he filed a counter motion for sanctions against my attorney because he thought that she did something wrong, which she didn't. But so, I mean, she withdrew from the case and was going to serve as a witness. I mean, she's not going to lash out at him for it. She's using the legal process to do it. My parents are, very angry towards him. But even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father. They're really, really careful about that. They just like him, but they know he's the father of my kids. They would never do that. Right. I don't know who would be angry enough with him.
Well, that's what I have to find out.
To do something like this.
The brother that you're real close to, I have to do a lot of elimination at the same time. The brother that you're really close to, the one that joked about the TV and everything, what'd you say his name was?
Charlie.
Charlie, and he's in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what kind of car he has.
He has like 5 cars.
Tell me all of them.
He drives I think one of them is an unmarked police car.
Oh, really?
He's a bit of a character.
Okay.
So I don't know what he's driving at the time.
Right.
But I'll tell you, he's a periodontist, and he has this practice where he works from early in the morning till late at night. So if you ever wanted to find his whereabouts, he's working all day long and until early in the morning till late at night, always driving to a different office and working.
Oh, he goes to different offices?
Yeah, he works in different offices all over South Florida and does implants for people. And he works really hard all the time. He has a girlfriend, so he's pretty much accounted for all the time.
Charlie, is that his first name?
Charlie's his first name.
Not Charles?
I think Charles is his legal name. No one calls him that.
What's his last name?
Adelson.
What's his middle?
J-A-Y.
Same spelling. Adelson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What?
What? Oh my gosh.
What?
I can't believe this is happening.
Okay, Janine, give me your analysis here, because they're talking about Charlie. Charlie was convicted by the jury.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff is happening here. Let's talk, when she talks about the parents, she says they dislike him, but she doesn't say disliked. So I believe she doesn't want to believe that her parents are involved. If, in fact, she was a part of this whole thing, she would have to be the dumbest person to be helping plan this, to then offer up Charlie on a silver platter if she thought that he did it. Listen, she's either the best actress, in my expert opinion. Quite frankly, if Jussie Smollett and Amber Heard had her acting skills, then they would have never been busted. They're actors and they couldn't fake it. So from my expert opinion, again, I'm tripling down here, Vinny, and for you at home, I believe it's authentic. We do see her laughing a little bit here. Sometimes when people laugh, it's embarrassment. When her mouth pulls back, right here, we see this a couple times. That's fear. And the last one I want to mention is the forehead activity. We have a lot of activity happening here. This is a very valuable sign of someone telling the truth under stress, because it's connected to the brain. And I already mentioned this, the palms out. We see this consistently with her. Delia DiPolito hired a hitman to kill her husband a couple of years back. And I've heard other experts talk about this. Listen, look at the two. You'll see a huge difference. This is authenticity. Delia DiPolito, it's a total different game here.
Jason Solomon, this relationship between Wendi and Charlie is interesting, the way she describes him and the way she describes their relationship, the big brother and everything else. But she's throwing the name out there.
It's always been, I think, a big puzzle, as Janine alluded to, of if she was really involved, why did she throw the name Charlie out there? Now, her boyfriend, Jeff Lacasse, testified at the last trial that she had a habit of sort of blurting out things that were in her self-interest. And so the theory would be that she essentially blurted out Charlie's name as someone who may be involved. I shouldn't say blurted out his name. She actively pointed the finger at Charlie, both in this interview and in the week leading up to it, when she told Lacasse that Charlie had seriously looked into hiring a hitman, and when she told the TV repairman that morning about this joke that it looked into hiring a hitman. So if she was involved, the theory is that she basically was saying Charlie's name to protect herself and to make people think that she wasn't involved, because exactly as Janine said, if she was involved, why would she point the finger at her loving older brother who is protecting her? I also liked her description of her brother as being a bit of a character.
Yeah.
It's kind of an understatement.
A little bit of an understatement. I didn't realize he also had an unmarked police car. Carl, what'd you think of this and this whole issue of Wendi and Charlie, Charlie and Wendi, this relationship and the joke?
Yeah, I think she was really startled, because if you go back to her driving by the crime scene and then taking off when she sees all the law enforcement activity outside the house, then she goes to get some liquor, and keep in mind this 40 minutes out of the way from her house, from where the luncheon is. So she goes to meet some friends that are lunch that are in North Tallahassee, closer to where she lives. And you're just sitting down and eating. All of a sudden law enforcement shows up, and she should have been freaking out and asking about why you're here. And she never does that, but she gets back to the police station. I think she's really freaking out because she's thinking that they're really targeting her and they're really scrutinizing her activity, when she didn't. I don't think she thought that would be coming that fast, that quick. And so I also agree with the behavioral expert from this morning that said all this hyperventilation talk of her is a fight or flight type response, and that's only indicative of somebody that's lying and nervous about their guilt.
Let's watch one more piece. This is a short clip where she's talking about what should happen to the killer.
Well, let me ask you, if you found out that this was someone that you personally know, would that change your mind about what should happen to that person?
About what should happen to that person?
For prosecution purposes.
No.
Is there any way that you would think
somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is.
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family. Anyone outside my immediate family, that's a tough one. Okay. But I don't think my immediate family did this. So if it's anybody else, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that this guy Charlie would even be capable of doing something like this?
No.
Let's just talk.
He's a joker.
Okay. All right.
First of all, I love the questions being asked by the investigator. I think it's interesting and a little different. What did you make of this last part, Janine?
My book, You Can't Lie to Me, I talk about that very important question right there, because most people who are telling the truth and are not involved, we say you should be prosecuted by the fullest extent of the law. I like that she does the disclaimer. Listen, yeah, unless it was my family, then no, then that would be a tough call. Again, I think that she's telling the truth here. I've heard other people say that she had a planned answer to this question. I don't believe it was planned. I think it was authentic. Again, the pausing, the cadence, everything to me comes across as truth.
Jason, what did you think of this question? It was a really interesting question that the investigator asked.
It is an interesting question. It's strange that she would say, except for my family. You know, I understand that Jean's point that it may be that's an indicator that it's authentic. You know, I think one question is, and, you know, maybe we'll get to talking about this, but, you know, we're talking a lot, of course, about what Wendi thought and Wendi did then. And I think we also have to start focusing on what Wendi is doing and what she should be doing now. So right now, it's very clear. Right then it was not clear that her family was all involved. Now it's clear to everyone around her, everyone around the world, that her family did this. Charlie's convicted. Her mom, Donna, is in jail. She ain't going anywhere. She's going to be convicted eventually. What is Donna saying? What is Wendi saying to her friends, to people she interacts with, to her boys, about what she thinks about whether her family is involved? This right now is her only chance to save her relationships with her boys for the long term, whether she's going to come clean, be honest with them, be honest with everyone around her, and start to distance herself from these people, start to distance herself from her family, unless there's a reason why she can't do that. Unless there's a reason why she can't do that. But right now, she's got to start thinking about her future.